Okay, so this is a talk that I gave first in an abbreviated format at the Aspen retinal detachment meeting in February of 2025. I later revised it and added some things for the New England Ophthalmologic Society meeting later in February, and now it is the end of March, and I've updated it a little bit further. I say that only because if you're watching this in anytime after late March, early April 2025, there's a good chance there's been a sea change. AI is changing so fast that it's hard to keep up with. And so, watch YouTubers, do your due diligence, and if you're interested, and if this video gets you interested, take the deep dive into AI. It's been fascinating and a lot of fun. So I actually have some form of membership or access to all of these different AI platforms. And some are stronger than others at various tasks. I'm going to basically focus on a handful of the AIs, really a couple of them, Gemini being the first one, and then mostly ChatGPT. And the Gemini one is really interesting. The thing I was going to show about Gemini is just something that's really interesting, and that is the ability to have Gemini help you with things.
All right, so this is
Um,
just a really interesting way that you can troubleshoot any kind of random thing that you have trouble with online or even with software that you might have. And it comes to us from Google AI Studios, very powerful. I don't think you have to pay for anything to sign up for this, but you might have to have a $15 account. And it's this aistudio.google.com, and then you go to stream real time. And I'm going to go ahead and start it, and I'm just going to talk it through. But basically, it is like an AI tech assistant while you're working. So I'll give you some examples here. All right, so I'm looking for ways that I can search for articles in PubMed about proliferative vitreoretinopathy. And I really just want any articles that were published in the journal Retina in the last 2 years. How do I do that?
so basically, what this is it's
Okay,
almost
you want to
like
find
having
articles
someone
about
there
proliferative
who can help walk you
vitreoretinopathy
through
published in the
things.
journal
So
Retina
you're
within
able
the
to
last
talk
two
to the
years on
screen, you're able
PubMed.
to
Is that
watch
correct?
your screen as it
Yes.
does certain things, and it
Okay, to
basically
do
will
that,
give you
first
some
enter
assistance. I love
proliferative
it for things like
vitreoretinopathy in the
talks.
search bar and
I
press
love it for
search.
things like
Then, on the left
Photoshop
side of the
or
screen, scroll down to
different
find the
photo
journal
editing.
filter.
To
Underneath
be able to
that, you
just
can
do
enter
lifetime
Retina
help,
to filter
and
results
it's
only from that
pretty
journal.
absolutely
Finally, scroll down a
amazing.
bit more to
So if
publication
you're
date
somebody
and
that
choose custom
maybe has
range.
trouble
Enter
mastering
the start
Photoshop
date
or
as 2 years ago from
mastering
today, and
PowerPoint
today
or
as the end
Keynote,
date. Now the results will
these
be filtered to
or
show
even video
only
editing,
articles about
it can
proliferative
really be like having a
vitreoretinopathy
tutor
from the
right
journal
there to
Retina.
help you and walk you through it. So let's delve into ChatGPT. Now, one of the bits of advice that I give anybody in medicine who's thinking about getting into AI is find the platform that works for you and try to master it. And I'm by no means a master of ChatGPT, but it is one of the things that I have worked the most with. And so I'm the most comfortable with it. I actually think it's also the most powerful. Now, that being said, I have the professional version of it. It's quite expensive. I did that so I could have access to Sora, which is AI video creation. It's not worth $200, and many times what will happen is when they have a new feature, they'll release it to the professional version, but then it will trickle down as time goes by to the less expensive non-professional versions. So if you want to be on the cutting edge, the professional version is the way to go, but certainly lesser versions have tremendous opportunity and tremendous power. So when we look at our landing screen here for ChatGPT, in the upper left-hand side, we can see these are different GPTs that you can utilize. Some of them are custom GPTs. You can also select a certain GPT. Like, for instance, these are featured GPTs. These are different custom GPTs that are designed basically to allow you to do specialized things like make images, help you with writing, productivity, and research. And this is what I used to use, Scholar GPT and Scholar AI, to help me find different articles and other things such as that. Scholar GPT was a really nice one for PubMed searches, and you can do things like, PubMed search looking for new techniques in macular hole. It will actually go out and search, and this is what it comes back with. And it's really nice. It'll give you references. You can have it give you a summary, and it's a good way to search PubMed. Although I will tell you, there's now better ways to search PubMed for things like this. The next part of this GPT window is down here in the bottom left where you have projects. These are folders that you can put individual searches in. And then individual GPTs that you've done or things that you've worked on in the lower left as well. When you look, you can see your version of GPT that you're running. This is now running GPT 4.5. If we look at the different GPTs, I can tell you that first of all, I would avoid the O1 Pro mode. It's slow. It's good for coding and really complex tasks, but it's really not that helpful for what I use it for. GPT 4.5 is absolutely the best GPT in my mind as far as just searches and whatnot. And I really like GPT 4.0 when it's used in combination with deep research. And you can get some really amazing searches done using this combination of GPT 4.0 and deep research. Ways I use GPT, just for example, a patient comes in with paracentral acute middle maculopathy, and you're able to search about PAM, and it'll give you a really nice overall overview of PAM. You can also ask it to give you representative images of PAM, and it will go out to the web and it'll find representative images of PAM. It will reference those images, and it will also tell you characteristics of those images. If you need a patient handout because you have a patient that has PAM, you can say, hey, can you make me a nice handout for a patient that's understandable for the patient? And it will do that and do a really nice job, and then you can copy and print that out for the patient. We have a lot of patients in the retina clinic that have dry eyes. I hate to talk about dry eyes, so I said, hey, can you make a handout for a patient suffering from dry eye? From the aspect of the perspective of a retina doctor who really doesn't want to talk much about dry eye. And you can see here, really nice 2-page handout that talks about dry eye, and then basically a nice thank you ending. One thing I use this a lot for is to help me evaluate papers. So if you have a PDF, you can upload it to ChatGPT. And I'll usually use 4.5 in this context, and I'll ask it to summarize the parts of a paper. And you can see here it does a really nice job of summarizing this LightSight 3 photobiomodulation paper. But you can go a step further, and you can ask GPT to critique this paper scientifically and ask it if it's scientifically sound. And you'll see on the left-hand side, it gives strengths of the study, including the robust study design, relevant endpoints, statistical significance, good safety, and then areas for improvement. And you can see there's a lot more areas for improvement in this paper than there were strengths of the study. Not being critical of the paper, but it just shows that the ChatGPT can be very critical, which I think is really important. And then with the 4.0 combined with deep research, you can actually ask it to say, what are things people are saying about this therapy? And it will go out to the web and it will search for, in a deep fashion, what the feedback is. Now, when you do deep research, ChatGPT will come back to you and ask you a few more questions to just kind of probe and figure out exactly what you want. So for instance, in this case, it said, what do you want? You want patient testimonials and reviews, expert opinions, regulatory perspectives, and where do you want it from? US, specific time frame, and whatnot. And so we said mostly expert opinions, and that's all I hit. And we were able to watch it as it goes through, and it does an amazing search. And what I love about this is you can actually watch the thought process that ChatGPT has as it goes out and gathers information. And so it'll just walk through this. And this can take up to 10 minutes, actually, to do deep research. But, I mean, this is just 4 series of conversations that it's having with itself, gathering information. It did another couple of pages worth of this. And then this is what it brought up, which is, I think, really pretty amazing. And having run through this and read through this, it's fair, it's balanced, it's very spot on, and then it references all these things. And then I asked it, hey, can you give me a supportive view and a cautious view? And it found some really great quotes from some excellent doctors who have experience and thoughts and insight into photobiomodulation. So one of the things that I use this deep research for is when our clinic was transitioning from using betadine or povidone iodine for prophylaxis for injections and reducing infection to chlorhexidine. I wanted to know more, and I used deep research, and once again, it came up with just a really great summary about the effectiveness of these two antiseptics, the risks, including the irritation associated with povidone iodine, and systemic risks, which are really not a lot other than the allergic aspects of the povidone iodine, and then best practices. I mean, just a really beautiful and comprehensive review with references for all of these things. And once again, utilize this to be able to look through and gave me basically everything that I needed to know about using povidone iodine. And then actually provided a nice table at the end of things, which I thought was just unbelievable and above and beyond to compose that into a table. What I then asked it to do is I said, hey, when you're done with this, can you basically create a table of all of the studies? And we can see here, this is a copy of all of the studies that it was referencing, comparing povidone iodine to chlorhexidine or povidone iodine itself. And when we look through here, we could see that basically when we summarize, there's really equivalence between those two treatments as far as asepsis and injections. Now, you'll recall I utilized Scholar GPT to help with a search on macular hole surgery. You can also use deep research to help doing PubMed searches. And so I asked it really to do the same thing. Once again, deep research is going to come back and ask you a few additional questions. I said I only wanted human studies, randomized controlled trials, and case series both, all techniques. And I want to know which ones are open access. And so here we can see what it came up with. So in 2024, just kind of 10 of the most referenced articles and novel articles for macular hole repair with references present. I thought the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor one was very interesting. But what I wanted to know was, hey, are these the same articles as what you pulled up with the Scholar GPT? And actually, there was minimal overlap between Scholar GPT and PubMed. So even though this is really nice to kind of highlight and do PubMed researches or PubMed searches for various subjects, it's not yet a replacement for a PubMed search yourself. It'll give you 10 articles if you ask for 10 articles, 20 articles if you ask for 20 articles, but it might not give you the ones that you're looking for. It might not give you the most relevant ones unless your search is very, very specific. That being said, there is a new player in the GPT-based AI research game, and that is Undermined, which was introduced to me by my good friend John Printer in New Jersey, and I instantly fell in love with this one. This is absolutely amazing with the depth of research that it does. I think it runs off a ChatGPT 4.0 engine, but it is incredibly smart. So you get 5 or 6 free searches a month with the unpaid version. I've opted for the paid version, and it has been incredibly, incredibly helpful. So, for instance, we want to do the same thing, a direct comparison between chlorhexidine and betadine as antiseptics for intravitreal injections. And it'll take about 5 to 8 minutes to do this search, really nice loading screen. And then it gives you this really beautiful report summary, and it will give you a detailed summary that you can look through along with a conclusion. It'll have the categories of resources, so direct comparisons, real-world studies, systematic reviews or meta-analysis. all the way through just what kind of studies are being done. You can ask it to give you a timeline, which is really great. It'll give you historical development of these different agents and their introduction into use for prophylaxis for infection. And then it will give you all the references. And with these references, it'll actually give you the ability to hide the full summary. It'll give you a link to the PDF if the PDF is available. It'll give you the match percentage citations, referencing that per year and then the year that it was published. And it actually, you can ask it to do a comparison of the studies and create a chart of the comparisons of the studies. And so we can see here this really nice chart of all the studies that it looked up, and then it will give you the key takeaways and key findings. So it is just unbelievable. But you can ask it to do things like summarize the results, and it will write a summary of the results of the studies, which is a great way to summarize all of the information. You could ask it to write a chapter or an introduction to a book chapter. You could ask it to write a introduction to a paper that you're doing, and it would use all of these different studies to craft something that would be really fantastic. The sophistication of this is really amazing, and I think that it is absolutely going to be the way to search and reference things from PubMed going forward. So back to ChatGPT, however, one of the things that I find is really unique as far as the potential for ChatGPT is the GPT operator. And this is something that I have yet to master, but the novelty is truly amazing. And I'm going to show you this GPT operator right now and how it can be utilized. So when you click on operator, you can see that you can, it'll ask you what you want it to do. And I'll say, I would like for you to prepare a talk on Dean Elliott. I want it to be about 3 slides long. And then you turn it loose. And basically, it will open a browser. It will go out and it will search for Dean Elliott. It will find out information about Dean Elliott. You will have to connect it up to a presentation, Google Slides, to get it to be able to put something together. It'll ask you for your password to get in, and then it will start to actually build a slide deck about Dean Elliott, including going out, finding pictures of Dean, and putting that picture in. Sometimes you'll have to prompt it for things. Like you have to say, yes, I want that picture to be in there. I asked it actually to make it a nice font and a nice background. What's so interesting about this is I watched it and it couldn't figure out how to change the font and the background at first. And so it would back itself out of the mistakes it made and figure it out. And so it was really amazing to watch this thing work and come up with a 4-slide introduction to my friend Dean, and do just such an amazing job. Obviously needs to be tweaked a little bit, and you can tell it what to do, or you can go in now and tweak the slides yourself. One of the ways we use this in clinic is with translation for patients. I had a patient who was or is Korean and could only speak Korean, and so we utilized ChatGPT to do a translation so I could talk to the patient. Now, my partner Tom Stone actually said that there's an even better feature with ChatGPT, and that is to ask it to serve as a translator. So you basically say, I want you to serve as a Korean translator. After this voice prompt, if you hear a phrase in English, translate it to Korean. If you hear a phrase in Korean, translate it to English. And then it will just work as a seamless translator right there for you, which is absolutely amazing. I'll ask it to write letters or emails to doctors. So for instance, with the Aspen retinal detachment meeting, I asked it to compose a letter thanking Doctors D'Amico, Murray, and Chan for having me. And I said, tell them I look forward to seeing them at the American Academy of Ophthalmology meeting and the American Society of Retina Specialists meeting. Find out where those meetings are and put that location in the email. And it did. It found out that the 2025 AAO is in Orlando, that the ASRS meeting is in Long Beach, and it added that, which I thought was just absolutely amazing. And then you can just copy and paste this email to whomever you would like. Now, this blew me away. This was a patient that came in, and a young guy, 46-year-old, with a new scotoma in his eye. And all I did was, in a de-identified way, took pictures of the back of his eye or his OCTs off the screen of the monitor in the room with the patient there. And I asked ChatGPT, hey, this is the patient, 46, new scotoma. What's this OCT look like? And I was shocked. I was blown away because it said the OCT image shows a focal disruption of the fovea. It's an en face image, dark, well-circumscribed lesion. It's just consistent with a focal outer retinal disruption. There's focal thinning of the ellipsoid zone with a potential IS-OS junction irregularity. And it went on to say, this is suggestive of acute macular neuroretinopathy or paracentral acute middle maculopathy, which were the two diagnoses I was thinking, honestly. And then it gave a couple other thoughts, not crazy about the central serous, but I mean, to see that it could take an image of an OCT off the screen and come up with the best diagnosis in my perspective of what this patient had just absolutely blew me away. Another thing that I did was I took some screenshots of my schedule, my clinic schedule, and I asked ChatGPT, hey, here's the first half of my schedule. Can you find ways it could be better or more efficient? Now, the timing is a little bit off because I was in Denver at the time that I did this, but it actually reorganized my schedule in a way that made a lot of sense with injection-only patients, new patients, follow-ups, catch-up buffer, and justified why it would want that done. Now, just a few other fun things. You know, I have a headshot that I just love, but it's a little goofy. It's in the upper right-hand side. And so I said, you know, I don't really have time for another headshot. And this is through ChatGPT. Could you take this image of me and actually give it a nice professional look? And this is what it came up with. And surprisingly, it actually does look a lot like I look. And then I asked it to design a logo. And you can see here it designed a logo with reference to the Retina and actually did a pretty darn good job as far as that goes. I'll mention one device and no financial relationship with this device, but it's a Applaud Pen. Got this about a week ago. This is just a little device that you can magnetize and you just press. It'll vibrate. It'll record your voice and then upload it to this Applaud app. I will wear this basically on my scrubs, and if I'm thinking of an idea or I have any thing that I want to do, or an email or text I want to send or anything such as that, I actually will just press on it, record it, and it's like automatic journaling, and it's really neat. I wish it would integrate a little bit more with the online desktop app. As right now, it seems like there's a disconnect between the iPhone app and when you log on online. Last but certainly not least, I asked AI, hey, how will AI affect the practice of retina in the next 1 to 2 years, 5 and 10 years? And I thought it was really insightful. In the next 1 to 2 years, it basically talked about enhanced diagnostic screening, improved practice efficiency, and supporting our clinical decision making. In the next 5 years, more automated retinal disease monitoring, predictive analytics and precision medicine, and integrating into surgical procedures. And then in 10 years, really transformative impact, autonomous and semi-autonomous diagnostics, advanced AI-guided therapeutics, and redefined role of the retina specialist, which I think is somewhat ominous, actually. So in summary, basically, AI has transformational potential. It can enhance our clinical judgment and decision-making, but not replace our experience and expertise. Hopefully, it will lead to gains in efficiency in the real clinical aspect. We need to do it responsibly, and it does seem to be future-ready for ophthalmology. And by the way, this summary was AI generated when I uploaded a copy of this talk to the ChatGPT servers. In reality, I think AI is pretty awesome and really has unlimited potential. It's excellent at data gathering, but it has limitations. It's not always accurate, so you want to review its results, and it is changing very rapidly. and it won't replace us anytime soon. I think about my good friend Ahsan Rahimi, who said that AI is not going to replace people, but people who know how to use AI will replace people who don't know how to use AI. And I think Ahsan's really spot on with that. And I want to thank you for listening to this. Have a good night.